This is Hayao Miyazaki, 2 years deep into what would become one of the most influential animated movies ever made. Hi, I'm Jack Buckley, and today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite filmmakers and why his movies have such a profound impact on me and the way I view making art. Hayao Miyazaki is a filmmaker known for some of the most iconic animated movies of all time: Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and My Neighbor Totoro, just to name a few. And today I want to take you into his creative process, and how for you, as a creator, how you can take what he's done and integrate some of his lessons into your own work. A lot of the principles I'm going to be talking about today are things I learned from the almost unknown 6-hour-long documentary following the start-to-finish creation of the Studio Ghibli movie Princess Mononoke. Unfortunately, this documentary is only available in very small pockets of the internet, so I can only show small clips here, but I really tried to pay attention and get everything out of it that I could. Now, there's a lot of stuff I learned from the documentary that gets really detailed, so if you want to see a fuller breakdown of what I learned, I linked a document in the description of the video. But really what it all boils down to, on a basic level, is emotion. How does it feel? I like to think of it like there being a pocket of emotional truth in what you're making. There can be wildly different ideas within that pocket, but when you really think about it emotionally, there are ideas that resonate and ideas that don't. And to create like Hayao Miyazaki, it's crucial to get in touch with that emotional side. One of the biggest things I saw in the documentary was that even when they get technical, and they do, a lot, it's always about if it feels right. Because there's really no way to make a movie that feels like it's built with heart and soul like a Studio Ghibli movie if you don't actually put your heart and your soul into the choices that are being made. He talks about cranky lines as being essential to making a proper animated film, non-straight paths, real imperfections that come from you. Take a look at this scene from Princess Mononoke. Scenes like this feel alive because they're made with feeling and heart at every step. What I kept finding myself seeing throughout the hours of this documentary is that Miyazaki wants us all to calculate less and put more of our heart into the work we're making. Movies, music, paintings, it doesn't matter. Miyazaki is, for lack of a better word, a student of life. He learns from what's happening around him and then infuses it into everything he makes. And that's my real message for this video. And here's how I've been applying it into my own life. For the first time ever, I've been storyboarding a feature film, my movie Ataka. And last November, I decided to spend a few dedicated weeks trying to get as much storyboarding as I could done. But when I tried to do it, I couldn't. I kept getting stopped up because I didn't know how the scene was supposed to be at its core. I understood the scene logically, but I couldn't quite feel it. I couldn't quite see it in my head. So in the next 2 weeks, I tried endlessly to think my way around the scene, to calculate every move to make sure the scene felt right. And after those 2 weeks, I was generally able to get something that kinda resembled what I wanted, but I really had to force it, pushing my mind to the limit trying to get that. And even though I brute forced the proper framework, the feeling of it still wasn't quite there. And that's the lesson I learned during that trip. You can't think your way around a feeling game. You have to find ways to feel it and then execute on those ideas. My way to do this when it came to storyboarding was to write detailed notes on my thoughts on the scene, trying to make the scene in my head feel rich with ideas that I really cared about. The time of day, the colors that surrounded it, little details that reflected my own life, and things I picked up on that made the scene feel real and tangible to me. I found that if my heart was in it, I got exactly what I wanted and it came out crystal clear. Occasionally it really is a technical issue, like not understanding where the characters are placed, but 9 times out of 10, I found that making sure I felt it first was the only way to succeed. Well, how do you get into that mindset in the first place? How do you force yourself to feel? It's different for everyone, and it's important that you find the things that help you tap into your creative, soulful side. But for me, the things I found the most helpful are to go somewhere, either a quiet room or a coffee shop, play some music that I really think is beautiful, music that gets me to feel things on its own, and then simply sit back and observe. Try to find a view where at least something is happening. The traffic lights across the street, cars passing by, the day slowly turning into night. It doesn't have to be special, it just has to be active and real. And as I'm listening to the music and watching the world in front of me, I start to let the world slow down and start to breathe deep breaths and stop for a minute. Hayao Miyazaki often talks about a concept called ma. He describes it as an emptiness that's placed there intentionally. He claps his hands a few times in an interview and says, "The time between my clapping is ma. If you just have non-stop action with no breathing space at all, it's just busyness. But if you take a moment, then the tension of the movie can grow into a wider dimension." I think that as much as this is beautiful as a concept in filmmaking, it's just as true in life, and more importantly here, in creation. If we're moving a million miles a minute, we can't see those pockets of creativity, the beauty in a truck passing by or a sunset in front of us. We can't express the beauty in our work if we don't take the time to find it for ourselves. In a world that gets more complicated every day, it's really nice, maybe even necessary, to step back for a minute, and quite simply, to breathe. Thanks for watching.